is Melissa Cedillo, and I'm a graduate student at Harvard Divinity. I am in my last year, and I'm studying religion, ethics, and politics. Recently, more often than not, I'm asked, how am I still Catholic? And I think that there are truly teachings that the Catholic Church gets right. One of which is accompanying those who are alone or forgotten by society is foundational to the Catholic faith. As Catholics, we are taught that bearing witness to those who are incarcerated is a corporal work of mercy. Put simply, corporal works of mercy are based on Jesus's teachings on how we should treat other people. One of these acts of mercy are visiting those who are imprisoned. Prison and jail ministry can look like visiting and offering spiritual guidance to those who are incarcerated. These forms of ministry are seen as nothing less than treating others as Christ would. Yet, as I continue to learn about the carceral state, or this country's heavy reliance on detention centers, prisons, and jails, my once simple admiration for prison ministry is evolving into something more nuanced. I see now that prison ministries based on visitation alone, without addressing root causes, merely allow the prison system to continue practices and policies that strip away the dignity of those experiencing incarceration. And this is not something I believe is pleasing or would be pleasing to Christ. We must ask why this country has such a high incarceration rate. Now, when I began my time at Harvard Divinity School, I considered using my degree towards becoming a prison chaplain. That's someone who goes and visits people who are incarcerated and usually guides them spiritually. But the more I learned about the exploitation of incarcerated people, their families, and their communities, I realized the pursuit of this ministry must be done in a way that does not reinforce the prison industrial complex. The prison industrial complex, put simply, is the way that this country profits off of those who are incarcerated. Instead, that I feel we as a faith community must work towards ultimately ending incarceration and the heavy reliance of it. I don't have any close family members who are currently incarcerated or have been impacted directly, but I've always known that the line between what my reality is and what my life is now and how closely that is to that and those who are incarcerated is a very thin line. So many close to me have many loved ones who have been impacted, and it's a reminder for me to keep this population in mind. You see, so many prisons and detention centers are put out in the middle of nowhere and quite easy to forget. And I think that as a community of faith, it's our job to always remember and to know that that so easily for many of us could have been us or our loved ones. Jesus was radical not only because he walked with those deemed unworthy by society, but because he also questioned systems of oppression. His faith fearlessly allowed him to address those in power. It is with this spirit that Catholics need to address the devastating truth about incarceration, especially in the US. It is well known today that the US locks more people per capita than any other nation. If you're poor and or Black, your chances of being incarcerated are even higher. Black Americans, who only account for 13% of the total population, make up 40% of the incarcerated population. This devastating statistic is rooted in our nation's founding sin of white supremacy, with a direct line easily discoverable in the US government policy between the injustice of Jim Crow to today's mass incarceration. The American prison system today is a new iteration of this long-standing white supremacist goal to control and to dehumanize people of color, the impoverished, and the marginalized. Because of this, any form of prison or jail ministry rooted in Christian values must also address the injustice of mass incarceration by advocating for early release, working to dismantle unjust systems of power, and pushing for rehabilitative, not punitive healing systems. So what does incarceration look like during COVID-19? This pandemic is the latest reminder that incarceration prohibits people from living a life full of dignity and life that appreciates family values. Being with family is crucial to Catholic social teaching, but due to COVID-19, many jails and prisons across the nation are suspending visitations, preventing families from seeing each other face to face, a vital form of connection. This pandemic makes the distance between families that incarceration created grow larger. Even more, many families who are facing financial difficulties during COVID-19 cannot afford something as simple as a phone call to a loved one who is incarcerated. A simple act of mercy and human connection that should have always been free. COVID-19 also highlights already existing public and mental health issues in prison and jails that fly in the face of Catholic values. This much is clear. As COVID-19 spreads through jails and prisons and detention centers, it is a matter of life or death to get as many people out as we can and to do it safely. I believe Christ would be using this moment as a chance to move the world from visitation to decarceration, a world in which prison ministry centers around advocating for early release, to an end to the use of incarceration as a solution for societal ills such as poverty, addiction, and lack of education. In these difficult times, there are many actions Catholics can take right from their home. Catholics are being asked to reflect on what prison ministry means and fight even harder for the incarcerated to be reunited with their family. Catholics can push lawmakers to reunite those currently incarcerated with their families. Governors have the ability to grant early release for those who are incarcerated. In states like California and New Jersey, this is already happening, giving thousands of families to reunite safely. You can also get involved with abolition apostles who will introduce you towards incarceration pen pal programs and slowly move you towards direct mutual fund. You can learn more about them at abolitionapostles.org. Additionally, you can assist with reentry programs for those who have recently been released. And most recently, you can help incarcerated people receive their stimulus checks. As I continue my theological studies, I am always asked to take more seriously what mercy looks like. I have been taught that theology, when done right, must translate teachings into action. It must ask the faithful, what more can I do now? As we face this time of social distancing and stay-at-home orders, to truly follow in the footsteps of Christ, we must dismantle those systems that would prioritize punitive separation of families ahead of public health and basic human dignity. Thank you.